Hello, my name is Prince Omakili. So I'm here to present the task assigned to me by Makerble for the role of a DevOps engineer. So it starts by, I was focused to build a Ruby on Rails app and deploy it on Kubernetes by publishing to a Docker file. I was also instructed to set up GitOps using ArgoCD and Tekton pipeline. ArgoCD to ensure that the Kubernetes manifest are always deployed, while the Tekton pipeline is for cloning in the GitHub repository and publishing it to Docker hub. So now this is my Kubernetes dashboard. So you can see that there is, okay, I will explain all this in later, but this is the finished app. So the first step is publishing the Ruby on Rails app to a Kubernetes cluster. In this case, I'm using Minikube, and I set up an ingress controller to route and define traffic routes to route request to localhost to my Ruby on Rails service. So now I can create a new book because this is a simple book management app. It enables you to create books, edit books, and delete books. So do okay. So I've created while testing, I created a book before. Now I'll create a new book. Okay. I will name it Hidden Chronicles 2. Also understand Graph B, then um, even here. And I'll give a rating of 16. Yes, create this book. Yeah. So this is the book, Kaggle Works of Books. So this is the list of books in the application. This is the previously created book and this is the newly created book. So basically this Ruby on Rails application is connected to a Postgres database running in the same Kubernetes cluster. However, the Ruby on Rails application is running on a deployment while the Postgres database is running on a stateful set. So this is the Kubernetes dashboard. You can see the deployment. Deployment is the book web app, the Ruby on Rails application. Try to look at the pods. See, there's one stateful set. The Postgres database has the stateful set has two replicas. So this is one of these are the two replicas, and yeah, it has one replica set for the pod for the Rails app web app pod. So this is a summary of how I deployed on the Kubernetes cluster. And this is the ingress. I also set up ingress to route traffic. And we can ingress with them. So this is my cluster ingress. It hosts on localhost. That's what enables me to access this application on localhost. Normally, because I'm using Minikube, I would have had to export it, export the services using the Minikube service command, just like this. Normally, I would have had to export um, put the Redis pod using this command. But I didn't have to because I set up I set up an ingress controller, which is this. So basically, the ingress controller listens to the on localhost and routes every traffic to this part to the book web app service. And here is the book web app service. Okay, this connects to my book web app pod on the book web app application on the book web app deployment. So that's all on the application architecture on the cluster. And let's move to GitOps using ArgoCD. Okay, now, so I set up an ArgoCD instance on the cluster. So this basically it syncs the state of my remote repo with with the Kubernetes cluster. So basically, anytime I make a push to the main branch of my remote repo, it deploys all the manifest, all the Kubernetes manifest in the Kubernetes directory and make sure everything is in sync. So this is the ArgoCD application. Okay, so this is my Postgres service. This is my book web app service. This is my ingress. This is my deployment. So basically, it ensures everything is in sync. And in the process of deploying the Postgres web app, I set up secrets. So securely manage my credentials. That is the database credentials. And here they are. Okay. So basically, this secret contains the database name, the user, the password, and so this is like essentially DevSecOps, ensuring that no the database credentials are not leaked. So and while deploying the stateful set, I'm referencing the secrets, the book web app secrets. Also, when deploying the pod, I'm referencing the secrets also. Book web app secrets. So that's it on the GitOps. Now let's move to the Tekton dashboard. So the instruction said um, so that I should deploy ArgoCD to manage the deployment of the previously mentioned application using GitOps. I should all ArgoCD configuration files be present in the GitHub repository. So here are my ArgoCD configuration files. So this is the application that connects to my GitHub repo, and this may ensure that this syncs the state of my GitHub repo with the state of my Kubernetes cluster. This is my ArgoCD configuration, and this is where I store my repository, my GitHub repository username and password. I store them in the secrets. I ensure that there are no bases before included before entering them to the file. Okay, so the next task is set up Tekton pipelines. Basically, this pipeline is supposed to be responsible for pulling the source code from the GitHub repo, then building the image from the source code, that is the Ruby on Rails app, and publishing the image to Docker Hub. So this is the Tekton dashboard. I previously ran the pipeline. So this is the pipeline. So this is the YAML, and this is the pipeline run. So it succeeded. So this contained two tasks. The first task was to clone. The second task is build and push. So the clone was responsible for pulling the repo from the private GitHub repository. And while this task that is responsible for building the Docker image and publishing it to Docker Hub container registry. So this is the public Docker Hub repository where where the Ruby on Rails container is being deployed to. So that is what the Tekton pipeline pulls from the GitHub repository, builds the source code, and publishes it to the Docker Hub container registry. So that's it for the task assigned to me. But I went a step further to implement observability and monitoring. So in this process, I set up Prometheus and Grafana in my Kubernetes cluster. The essence of this is to help me monitor the state of my Kubernetes cluster, know what nodes are down or how many pods I have, or the state of the CPU, the CPU utilization, the CPU memory. So here it is on Grafana. So connected to my Kubernetes cluster. I expose it using Minikube service because everything is on my local cluster. They are all running here. So this is the Tekton dashboard. I'm running the Minikube service. And this is the Grafana service. So now my cluster is using 49, about 45 to 46% of memory, and it's using about 19 to 20% of the CPU. So yeah, I created another dashboard about two dashboards. So this other dashboard shows me the number of pods in the cluster across all namespaces. Okay, so now this shows me the about 20 deployment replicas, with about 40 pods or 38 pods in my cluster. Yeah, 32 pods are running successfully. And now this is my Minikube dashboard. So this is the workloads in my default namespace. That is, we have other namespaces. This is the default namespace. I have namespace for my ArgoCD workloads. I have for my Tekton, the monitoring. That's the one that contains the Prometheus and Grafana. My Tekton contains the Tekton pipelines. So I will wait for all this to load. Now let me make a sample or let me update the repository to show you how the GitOps pipeline works. So here I am modifying the deployment. So now I want to upgrade the deployment from one replica set to two. Okay. Now, add this. So, okay. Here it is. I successfully pushed the main repo. Now this would, if I press give it time, this would sync to my yeah my to my Argo CD. Okay. Let's see. Mhm. Still loading. See. So now I've successfully synced this stuff, added an extra pod according to what I specified when I push the repo in my deployment. So we upgraded the replicas to two. Now for the final yeah, I also went ahead to publish to create a GitHub Actions pipeline that uses Terraform to provision a Kubernetes cluster on Google Cloud. Although I shut down the cluster to avoid incurring so much cost, but I can show you the pipeline running and the steps involved. So this is the GitHub repository. The pipeline field at the end. I will still show you that you explain the steps. So this step was responsible for building and publishing the application to the Docker Hub registry. This was responsible for setting up the cluster on Google Cloud with using Terraform. So into this. So this step checked out the repository, built the image and published it to the Docker Hub repository. Okay. The second step was responsible for setting up the cluster on Google Cloud, Google Kubernetes engine. Okay. So this initializes Terraform. So because of the Terraform, the Google Cloud cluster existed. So it is already on Google Cloud. I created a cluster previously. It skipped this step to avoid unnecessary errors in the pipeline. So this next step was to set up and configure ingest. It ran successfully. Yeah, after setting up ingest controller, I proceeded to set up the GitOps with ArgoCD on Kubernetes cluster. Yeah, so this is the process of ArgoCD. So although the pipeline failed, I just wanted to explain, show that I understand CI/CD, how to set up, automate deployments of application on the cloud, automate creation of infrastructure on the cloud, also using Terraform. So thanks for watching. This video is longer than that should have been, but thanks for watching to the end. Bye bye.